Hey, NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here for another edition of the NAIA Ball Podcast. You heard it just before. We are powered by AdCraft USA, the finest folks in terms of athletic gear that you could ever want to work with. Keep your ears open and your eyes peeled. We'll be setting up a store here in the next little bit so you can get some NAIAF ball gear for yourself. But enough of me going on and prattling on. You're not here to hear me, obviously. I have for you tonight the Dickinson State head coach, Pete Stanton. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
It's always a pleasure, to get to talk to our friends in the are you still considered the Pacific Northwest up there? I mean, you're pretty Pacific Northwest to me from Florida.
Yeah, yeah. That's close enough. That's close enough. Yeah, for sure.
Close enough for government work. Um, let's jump into last season for a minute. The 21 season. After the last two seasons, calling 21 last season still seems a little weird, but here we are. You have your first 0-2 start since the 2014 season, and then you rattle off 8 straight wins. Um, if I remember correctly, you drop out of the coaches poll. You're you're near the bottom of our poll. I'm still sitting there steady ranking y'all. I'm going, no, 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 just wait. They'll come around. What what kind of changed there when you switched that on and really started coming in on a dime?
Well, we knew we had two tough non-conference games really to start. We playing Black Hill State, who they end up having a 50-50 year in the Division II RMAC conference, and they're an old rival of ours. They used to play us in the DAC 10, and so we knew that was going to be a difficult game, and as Western Montana Western was as well, and obviously they proved that they won the Frontier Conference, and we had two pretty good games with them, and with both of those teams, one of them we were close at halftime, the other one we had the lead at halftime, ended up not getting it done and getting beat in the second half. So we learned from those two games, but also knew we had a chance to be pretty competitive, and I think that's just kind of what it was, learning from those things. We didn't tackle very well at all, early on, even in our third game. But as we got going, I think then I thought we played more consistent. And the thing that we always talk about is not, just winning that turnover battle, and we didn't do that at all in the first two games. And we were behind. Actually, in the first three games, we were way behind the eight ball on that, and we pointed that out to our guys, and we did a better job of taking care of the ball down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Drew Bodecker, only had the 10 picks um, on the season. Maybe it's me and a little bit of bias on when I saw them, but it always seemed that they came at the most inopportune moments. But it was only 10 of them. But you do have to replace your quarterback this upcoming season. Bodecker leaves. And I remember 3 years ago, I think it was now, asking sort of the same question for you. You're losing a 3-year starter and trying to, get back together there, but you do return a good bit of talent offensively, two all-conference offensive linemen, two all-conference wide receivers, and you're starting running back in Riley Linder. The only thing that you're really going to be missing is Tiger Fry, which we talked about off air. Boy, you wish you could keep him for forever. And uh, first team all North Star offensive lineman Matt Day there. Talk about what you got coming back offensively.
Yeah, we think we have some good pieces back there, as you mentioned. Nathaniel Woodruff and Brandon Bennick were, both all conference offensive linemen for us, and Gunnar Farsfeet was an honorable mention guy who started now for a couple of years. So we have three, actually four guys that have played quite a bit for us there on the offensive line, and as our tight ends have been the same, Galen Brantley and Nathan Schumacher and some of those guys have they've played a lot for us in the past, and of course Connor and at the wide receiver spot, and Caden Koontz is a guy who was an NDSU transfer that kind of got going this year and really had a pretty high touchdown ratio. And actually, a couple of our bigger games played really well. Had a big game against Valley City, caught a couple of big balls there. And then the one we missed actually this year, who's a good player for us, is Noah Sickler. He got hurt after the third game, and that was a big setback for us because he's had some big games up till then. And so, yeah, he's been a good player for us as well. Isaiah Clute, in the return game and at receiver as well. So you have some guys there, and then as you mentioned, running back Riley Linder and Alec Lovegren is another guy that got a lot of carries for us, and we think we have another very capable back in Braden Zuroff. So we feel pretty good about all those guys. And as you mentioned, we'll miss Drew, and Drew had a great career for us and did a lot of great things for us, just besides being a very good leader. Aaron White is a guy that's played a lot of snaps for us. He'll be a senior next year. With this COVID situation, technically he could be a sophomore, but we're moving him along, and he'll be a senior. And he's been in a lot of game type of things as well. He's had some injuries, with the shoulder, but he's come back, and in the playoff game against Grandview in the second half, he did a good job in that game. I believe he was 20-some for 30-some in the second half, throwing the ball. So he has some experience and delivers the ball pretty well, and so we feel good about him and a couple other guys coming back at quarterback.
Absolutely. Defensively, you've got folks coming back at every level that are all conference selections, whether it be Crew Mathern and Robbie Kendall along your line, or Keaton Meshke and Dawson McLaughlin, or Keaton Meshke at linebacker and Dawson McLaughlin and Jaden Hartwell in the secondary. You do have a lot coming back. You're going to miss Nick Miller there, but you've got guys who are chaos machines at all three levels. Talk about your defense and causing chaos.
Yeah, we do have a lot of those guys back defensively. In fact, we started talking at the end of the season, I believe it was either 5 or 6 freshmen that we started in the playoff game. Crew Mattern is the guy up front that really makes us, go. He was close to being the MVP of our conference. He is very, very active and is as good a motor that we've been around as far as his ability to get across and make plays behind the line of scrimmage, and he goes and goes and goes. And then Robbie Kendall, as you mentioned, and then Jaquan Booth, who's a freshman for us as well, and Matt Anderson. We played 2 freshmen quite extensively that had a good year for us, and we also think we have some guys coming up in the defensive front that are going to be very good for us that redshirted last year. Linebackers, you mentioned Keaton Mishke is a guy that'll return and really played well down the stretch. And then our secondary, we do return, as you said, Dawson, who's been an all-conference guy 2 years, and Jaden Hartwell, and then Javante Oliphant, who's played corner for us as well. He will return this year as well. And then we did miss in our playoff game. We really missed him big. Was Tell Lundy, who's a safety for us, and he had an ankle injury in our last game against Waldorf, and he wasn't able to play in the playoffs. So he's another guy that's going to be a key guy for us too.
Absolutely. Oliphant is a previous All North Star selection. I had seen his name while I was going back through some of the old show notes. It seems like y'all always pick one of the Frontier teams, maybe one of the old DAC 10 teams, to play out of conference, whether it be Rocky that you've played several times, or whether it be this year Montana Western. You just kind of go down a list and pick them out one by one until you've gone through the entire Frontier, or do you just have some better?
Yeah, we've tried to go more with regional matchup. That's kind of, traditionally, we've played Rocky because they aren't a long drive away, and we have a lot of alums in eastern Montana, and obviously it's a quick drive over for our fans and their fans. It just didn't work out on the schedule this year. So visiting with Coach Norris, we ended up playing Western this year, and so we'll have a 2-year contract with them. So I think more so, we played Northern in the past, non-conference too. I think sometimes it's just we're fitting where they were at with their schedule. They can only have so many non-conference. We're the same way. So that's why it ended up with Black Hills, who we played them non-conference as well, because they're a couple hours away is all, and once again, we have a good following of fans both ways that way. So that's kind of how Mort's evolved, more just those schools have been a little closer to draw for us, and obviously all good teams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to get, a couple of kind of teams that help you kind of get your foot in and see where you are off the bat. That way you can, what you've got and what you can improve on and going forward into the year. One thing I'm really interested of hearing from you, y'all have won, heck, what is it now? Seven consecutive North Stars. Um, how do you get your guys to not overlook that conference? Because now you're almost 2 cycles through, of kids that winning conference is just what you do. How do you keep that fresh?
I think we really talk about the biggest thing we talk about from day one is this year's team. Whatever happened in 20 or 21 or 18 or 17 or 16, that was their team. And we talk about now this is 22 and it's coming up. This is going to be our team, and this is going to be your team, and this you have your chance to make a mark as the 22 team, rather than getting caught up saying what about last year, or who we beat this year. I think that's number one. I think number two is to just, like, and pray everybody in the country says the same thing, but just a one game, try to go 1-0 this week, and you have so many opportunities to get on the field, and you have so many opportunities to play and to play hard, and we're going to just do that every week. And I think that's just really the mindset, regardless of who we're playing. And whether it's the top of the non-conference or top of the league, we're just going to treat everything the same, because you only have so many opportunities to go out there and play hard and do your thing. So that's really the way we kind of approach it.
Yeah, I mean, this is not basketball and baseball that you have, dozens of opportunities. You have 10 to 12 games to make your mark. One thing I'm also interested about, I know you talk a lot about with being where you are in the country, having to schedule teams that are close, making sure those out of conference matchups are close and you have good fans. Over the last couple of years, we have seen some teams in the Western United States come in, whether that be Ottawa and Arizona Christian over the years. How, in your opinion, can the NAI continue kind of that westward focus and get some maybe some teams from California where y'all recruit very well, in there, so that you can have some trips that are a little bit further away, but yet they're not cross country?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because each individual school is just different, and I think even in our region, we had a conference when I started here, as an assistant 20 years ago, that was, you had University of Mary and Minot, and look, I've mentioned Black Hills and South Dakota Mines and all those schools, and that hasn't helped as far as just pushing to the west as well. And then so each of those individual schools, our way, and as you mentioned, towards California, the Azusa Pacifics and things, schools like that we're kind of playoff contenders all the time. They're not there, and so it does make it tougher to try to attract some more of those teams to do that. But I think hopefully we can do that, because the level of play in the NAI is so good, and you see that, we see it, obviously the way the 3 or 4 or however many Iowa schools are just rolling along right now, and I mean that we've faced in the playoffs, and they're really good teams and really, really good talent. And I mean, there's good teams all over, but I mean, I think people should see that too. The quality of play and the talent at the NAI level is very, very good. We've played Division II teams, and we've played Division III teams, and we played a really good Division III team a couple of years ago, and a couple of teams that we played in the playoffs, there wouldn't be a comparison. The NAI teams were very, very good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Division II and Division III, to me, there's much less parity from top to bottom than the NAIA. There's some really, really, really good D2 and D3 teams, no question about it. And there's also ones that really do struggle. And there are some NAI teams to me that do struggle, but there's not as many. And the ones that do, you can see they're starting to put a little bit of money in and try to get their programs rolling back again. The last thing I really want to ask you, and and I'm really interested to hear your answer on this. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking with different coaches on creating and maintaining and growing a support base and your booster programs and building relationships outside the lines of football. And we've heard from, folks like Indiana Wesleyan, where they say, that's something we're trying to develop. We're such a new school, a new football team, that we just don't have that alumni base. We talked to Reinhardt last week, who said, man, we got to do a better job about that. It's so hard up near Atlanta, near a bigger city. Well, I want to hear your answer on this. Um, you have been at Dickinson for 20 years, so you're definitely leading a program that has a heritage to it. And being where you are, don't know that there's that many sprawling metropoli around Dickinson. So talk to me about how you and the athletic department engage and build that support base and that booster base in order to make Dickinson better for long after we're both gone.
Yeah, that's a good question and good topic because we talk about that one all the time, and we are very fortunate here that we do have a strong tradition. We've had two head football coaches since 1976 here. And I played for the one before I was here, and obviously we have that network, and we have a really strong network of alums. Could it be better? Yes, that we're always striving to be better on that part of it. But we have a foundation, our alumni group, support group that's connected with our touchdown club, that just does a really good job of helping us, develop a great game day atmosphere. We have a really good tailgate atmosphere with big crowds, and we get a lot of support. And you mentioned that we're not the metropolis. We're 25 to 30,000, but that we use that to our advantage. That we have some of the small towns that come around, and in our community, that's the event on Saturday, and we have a lot of support, and we get really good crowds, at home and at away. And I think that what we just continue to do is just try to reach out to more and more alums, just to help us to grow. Being a public school, with that too, if you look at the teams that are in the playoffs, you don't see as many of the public schools. We're one of the few there, and so with our funding sources and things like that, we really have to reach out, and get a lot of support, which I think we do, but we can always do better. And we're really proud of, the history we've had. I believe we went from the late 70s to the 2007, I believe 30 straight years with a winning season, and that's playing a lot. And then we had a rough couple of years in the transition, but that's I think we have that support of a very proud alumni base, and that really has helped us.
How early do you contact like your football alums? Like what time frame after they've graduated do you usually reach out and do that sort of contact?
Yeah. It's interesting that you've asked this, because we were just having these conversations the last couple of days, and we're trying to do that right away, and we're getting a database of those guys. And I've coached, and our staff has coached these guys for the last 6 or 7 years, and like I said, going back to our foundation and our touchdown club has done a really good job of getting to know these guys as they're here, and getting our players involved with what they're doing and why they're doing it for that purpose. Just like, hey, they know who we are, they know how much we're supporting them, and we want those guys to give back to the next group. And so we're doing that right away. And it's just a combination of what we're trying to do is just find guys from the 90s, and more guys from the 80s, and a few more guys from the 70s, and those guys will help connect you to those groups. And we do a lot already that way, but we're continuing to do more and more that way. And we like I said, we have a very good support system right now.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is, there are a few of the coaches who do listen to the podcast, and for those who are trying to figure out some strategies to get in there and kind of navigate those waters, kind of have some ideas of how to navigate those waters from someone who has some good support from your touchdown club, and how that happens so that you might give someone else an idea.
Yeah. We have a strong network that way. And like I said, could it always be better? Yes. We're always striving, but that's the thing. I guess, you just we have so many people that care. And if you care and you got people that care and want to do well, and they will do good things for you. And then I'll help reach out to a lot of players. And obviously it helps that I'm an alum, but I think every coach can still go, try to build that, and you don't have to be you as the alum, but just try to build that group of guys that care, that maybe were former players, and then they can do their networking. And I think it's just such a networking deal for programs, and that's really important. And alums like that as well. They like to hear from coaches.
Absolutely. I mean, that's you see, coaches even at the highest level here. I mean, Nick Saban's doing his tour around Alabama to shake hands and everything, and it's to me, I don't know, I wouldn't think that there would be a difference at the level of football that you would play. You still want to go out there and make those relationships.
No question. No question.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on tonight and taking some of your time out to talk to us. It is always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing y'all and the rest of the North Star out next year. Maybe we can have another sort of regular season and not have to worry about too much going on there.
Yeah, we're excited about it, and want to thank you guys for all you do for NAIA football. It's much appreciated. I know you have a lot of following, and we appreciate you. The support that you're giving our programs. It's a great deal for all of us.
It's my pleasure.